talk about some of the things he's learned over the years, and pleased and honored to have you here, Matt.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it. Can you hear me on the lav mic? Thank you for coming, and thank you for moving forward. Those of you that did, I appreciate that. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. I wanted to give you a quick 3 keys to success in a high-performance building, but I didn't want you to have to watch the entire 40-minute keynote. So I did a condensed version here at the office, just recording this on the iMac, and I'm going to give you my quick background story so those 3 keys make sense. Let's get into it, and I'm going to give you the quick short version of my keynote speech. So first of all, you know that I'm a builder in Austin, Texas. I build some really cool houses with some phenomenal architects. My company doesn't do any design in-house. We only partner with architects. And one of the things that we bring to the table that's really unique is our building science focus. But you've seen some of the houses I build. I build some really fun things with some great architects. In fact, we also got to build the Perfect Wall house this past year. You may have seen some stories on this. A phenomenal house with Rouser Design and Joe Stiebrick's Perfect Wall concept. But the reality is, you know, most houses being built in Texas are much more like this. I took these pictures last summer at a production builder site outside of Austin and was shocked how houses today in 2015, when these were taken, were being built almost identically to when I was building in 1995 with a production builder 20 years ago. Inexpensive vinyl windows, thermoply, really no air sealing to speak of. Very, very poor quality. Was shocked at it. In fact, look at the inside here. This is looking out towards the porch. You can see the detailing was just terrible. This house is going to be incredibly leaky, inefficient, uncomfortable, and probably will have some mold in it. So that was my start, 1995, building houses just like this one. After that, I moved to Portland, Oregon, and started building in a very wet climate. And if anyone was around during the mold crisis, that was a really formative time in my building career. This is around 2002 in Portland. This is a house that the company that I was working for built with EFIS, exterior insulated finishing systems. And at the time, it was a system where basically you glued the EPS foam right onto the plywood, and then you face sealed everything. And as you can see, not the best system, not a great system to really waterproof the house. We had some big problems, a lot of rot, a lot of mold. I really learned a lot, and it made me realize that the different climates around the country are very different, and you really need to build to your climate. So this is, of course, the climate zones for the US, and wherever you are in the US, you need to figure out what's different about my climate and how do I build a well-built house in that climate. So let's look quickly at the definition of building science. You know, if you look at this definition of building science, one of the things that's been most important to me has been that understanding and preventing building failures. It's so easy to focus just on the business and getting houses done and paying your bills, forgetting that what you might be doing on your houses could cause problems down the road. And as a builder and someone who owns my own company, that's super important to me. And here's the reason why. Here's a house I built about 10 years ago that had a bunch of problems, no overhangs, very modern design. And here I thought I was doing things well after I'd been trained in building science in Portland. And to have a house with mistakes like this really solidified my desire to do things in the best possible way. And realizing that, of course, water is my enemy as a builder, that, you know, anything I do to build a house that's going to be more resistant to water and intrusion is going to ultimately mean a better reputation for me and a better quality house for my builders. Okay, with that quick background being said, let's get into the 3 keys. Number 1, continuous learning. You know, you want to always be a student, and there's so many different ways you can learn and get trained. EBO was a way that I initially got trained in building science, attending their conference, going to their Houses That Works seminar. One of my mentors, Marco Liberte, I went to every possible training I could get from him. I've also learned a ton from Building Science Corporation. And of course, I've been reading magazines and looking at websites for a long, long time. I highly recommend subscribing to these phenomenal magazines and journals and making sure that you're continuously learning best practices. Number 2, this has been a big one for me. Pursue excellence. I just did a book review for a book by Mark Curson, is the author, called The Elements of Building. And he has a quote in here about excellence. I want to read this quickly to you. Quality, like honesty, is not optional. Nearly everybody knows the difference between mediocre and quality product. The best employees want to produce it, and the best customers will pay for it. Selling quality instead of price will bring more interesting and more profitable jobs. Make it a cornerstone of your business. Having said that, there is a standard for each type of work that is, quote, good enough. Cabinet making is more exacting than trim, and trim requires more careful work than framing. If cabinet making standards are applied to framing, few people will be able to afford the work. Super important. And here's one way that I've pursued that excellence. I've stopped bidding on projects. You know, one way that builders get caught up in reducing the quality in the jobs is by getting caught up in customers' desires to have a less expensive house. And ultimately, the times that I've bid against one or two other people, I almost always lose because clients don't understand when they look at a bid package, whether it's a 3-page bid or a 50-page bid binder like I'm typically providing, what the difference is between those. So don't give bids out and don't ask your subs for them, at least not some of your key subs. You really want to develop your subcontractors and get a stable team of subs so that you're using the same folks on every single job. Love this quote by a famous and fantastic old builder about bidding. And here's why I don't bid things. For instance, I have two carpentry crews that I use for framing and exterior cornice work. And I've trained those guys on how I want things done. They give me an excellent price. And in fact, they give me typically a day and a week rate on my jobs. And I figure out together with them how long it's going to take to build the house. And then we budget for that amount of money with some additional money in contingency. And now I know I've got an excellent crew working on my job, and they're not worried about, hey, I'm going to lose money if I don't finish this on Thursday. Here's a quick example. I was walking a job site, and the lowest paid carpenter on the job at 5 o'clock pulled me over. There was no one else on the job and said, hey, we stopped the siding over here because something was missing. And we have a vent sticking through this gable side. You can see the vent right there, and there's some foam cut around it. But what was missing, if you look at that photo, you can see basically air and water could make it around there. It's a little hard to tell, but if you zoomed in, you could see it. Here's what was missing. We were missing a flashing boot on there. This is a quick flash. I use these on most of my exterior penetrations. They do a great job, and he knew that was missing and that he shouldn't cover it up. The $14 an hour guy knew to pull me over and say, where is it? We got it on, we got it buttoned up, and now I don't have to worry about that penetration either leaking air or water in the future. Okay, and the third key right here, share and mentor. You know, for me, social media has allowed me to put my reputation on steroids. It's helped me grow my business a ton, and I've been willing to share and I've been willing to mentor, and I'd highly recommend that you do the same. You know, as we're building these high performance houses, I love the example of houses to coolers. You know, a Yeti cooler, they're expensive and they have great marketing, but they really work. They have great insulation. They also have a great air control layer. They have great seals. They seal tightly. They're a really expensive product, but they work, and they also sell really well because they've been able to market that. I think that you and I can do the same for our businesses as well. And the last quote from that Elements of Building book, be persistent, work hard. Remember, folks, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't give up. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. If you need me, feel free to shoot me an email. There's my email address. Thanks for joining me for this shortened version of my Keynote address.